Alright guys, welcome to today's video. Today we are running through this splitting steel energy stacking trickster. At the end of this video are going to be all of the uber kills that I've done. I've done 6 out of 7 deathless. The one that I'm missing is Maven because I just can't see the memory game. I don't know why, I just can't see it. So we managed 1 death on that. But if you had a decent memory or the ability to see, you probably could do them all deathless. Now, this is an expensive build. It is a hardcore viable build. It has done the whole game. I've played it. It's not my build. It's Steelmage's. I'm going to run you through the gear. And yeah. So if you're just interested in a gameplay showcase, jump to the end. There'll be timestamps. If you want to see the gear and a bit of an explanation, then stick with me. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment, leave a like. All that good stuff helps grow the channel. So the basic concept of the build is we are scaling our basic attack damage sort of with splitting steel, because it gives attacks with this weapon have added maximum lightning damage equal to 20% of the maximum energy shield. So you can see we have 130,000 DPS. If we take this off, we have 46k. So depending on how much energy shield you've got, you're going to be dealing lightning damage. We return all our projectiles with enemies. We have non-lucky crits are lucky. And we also use the Hungry Loop technology and flasks, etc. So let's run through the gear bit by bit. So you can see how the build functions. I'm throwing out projectiles. They all return to me. So you want to be in the pack, all returning to you, or stood on a boss, and they blow up. So the first piece of gear is the sword that makes this all possible, because the attacks have added max lightning damage equal to max ES. So for this, you want to get the best roll you can do. I bought this for like 1 Chaos Orb. They are now, let's take a look, 130C. I mean, if you knock it down a few percent, it's going to be 15C, so you can save some cash there. But this is not a budget build, not going to pretend like it is. I enchanted it to have attack speed per quality, and ideally I get that to 28 quality. Now, the second piece of gear is the helmet. There are different ways you can do this. For me, what I ended up with, like, I crafted all my own gear apart from the chest. So what I ended up with was I bought a fractured energy shield base, and I simply would go to harvest and reforge defense, which is blue juice, and eventually I hit this. Now this has accuracy, and that helps us because we do need accuracy. We use a precision and also some other things to help us get accuracy, but it is a bit of a struggle at times to cap your accuracy, so every little bit helps. And so keeping this big accuracy roll worked. Ideally, what you'd have here is, instead of the mana reservation efficiency, you would have a level 4 enlighten, and then you could put on Fizz as chaos, and because we're CI, we don't take any chaos damage, so it's basically just 10 Fizz reduction, which is really helpful. Or you can figure it out with a jewel, which I can show you. So in the helmet, I'll run the links after, but the gear is, we're energy shield stacking, and we've used the implicits to get 2 max lightning res. Now this is done with Orb of Dominance, and it's expensive. There's no point pretending like it's not. It's expensive to do your implicits on this build. The reason we want max lightning res is because we're using a melding, which we'll get into. So here, what we've got is a load of accuracy and a load of energy shield. Basically, that's what we've got. Now, if I price this and I say it's got 387 energy shield with no other mods, that's 50 divines. Now, I don't know if it's actually 50 divines. I would be surprised because it certainly didn't cost me 50 divines to make. But there we go. Now, we have the amulet, which is a boss only drop, and because it's a boss only drop and nobody's doing bosses, it's a bit expensive. It's 9 divines. This is going to give us attributes and int, which is important. Max mana roll kind of matters, to be honest, because we are struggling for a bit of mana, and we've got additional curse because we're using Sniper's Mark and conductivity. This just means that we're going to have non-crit lightning is lucky, and because lightning has such a big role, that mixed with volatility, which we'll get into, kind of means that we're doing decent damage consistently. The shield, now the shield, we have +3 max res and as much energy shield as we can get. Ideally here, big spell suppress roll or avoid ailments or intelligence instead of that resist. That's what would be ideal. Now, I did begin this by going ahead and trying to craft one of these +3 fractured 30 quality lightning res rolls, which was about 25 divines. I'm the cheapest up. I paid like 2 divines for mine. Now, I wasn't getting much luck. I was trying Reforge Defense. I was trying Energy Shield fossils, the delve dense fossils. Wasn't really hitting much on this one. And here's some tech that you might be able to find a snipe. Is I just reforged I just reforged defense over and over again until I hit +3 fire res. And I thought to myself, now can I do on the harvest fire to lightning? And you can. Obviously not if it's fractured. So this was +3 fire res and I swapped it to lightning res. That's kind of the route I went down. So you can always look at max fire res and try swap if there's another piece of gear. Ideally here I would annul the cold res. The lightning res would be fractured. You could do prefix can't be changed, veiled chaos, get strength and int, something like that, avoid ailments, something, you know. But I've stuck with it. I'm struggling to find something that beats this for a decent price because I'm kind of out of cash now. So if we take a look, something like this is like 45 div onwards. So we're just looking for that max res. Now, the Hungry Loop tech, if you want to call it tech, is just, you just level the gems up in here, and this means that my splitting steel is supported by Energy Leech, Volatility, Awakened Lightning Pen, and Awakened Ellie. If you sell the Hungry Loop, you get the gems back, and obviously they don't need to be awakened, but I just did them because I had the currency, because I got a mirror drop, which you can see on my channel. But I started this build before I'd even had that drop, so I'd already done all of this beforehand. So the reason we're doing a Hungry Loop, you lose quality because you don't get any quality on the gems. We're obviously losing a 6th link here. But the reason we're doing it is because we have nothing in our chess piece. The reason we have no links in our chess piece is simply because we're using, on our skill tree, defenses from body armor are doubled. And with a Trickster, it actually scales this node. 5 evasion per 1 ES and 1 ES per 6 evasion. So it's doubling, and then Escape Artist here is working with it in conjunction. So even though we're losing a 6th link, this gives so much energy shield that, you know, I think this basically, if I do this, I go from 7k to 15k. So yeah, we're losing a 6th link, but we're gaining so much through the body armor. We're not only gaining the damage back, but we're also gaining that big HP pool. Next is the Nimmies. I don't know the price of these. If we just take off all the stats here, 38 div, I spent 45 on mine. But yeah, that's just so all the projectiles return to us, and that's a huge chunk of damage. I wouldn't play the build if you don't have Nimmies, to be honest. Now, the gloves, I crafted these myself. So we've got the exposure, the lightning exposure, and the rage. So that kind of helps us out. Now, what I did here was I spammed Reforge Defense until I got my prefixes done. Then with my prefixes done, I did prefix can't be changed, and I veiled, blocked until I got attack and cast speed. It took 4 times. Then I crafted attack speed and slammed. Ideally, you lose the spell suppress roll. You get more spell suppress on the shield or on the gloves, and then you have attack speed. I mean, I could continually reforge these. So I could do prefix can't be changed, veil chaos. Then when I hit attack and cast speed, slam. If it doesn't hit something good, start again, but that's very expensive. But the general idea here again is get a lot of energy shield Use some sacred orbs to increase your base quality if you didn't know about that. These are 45 divs just for that much energy shield. With attack and cast, they're 120, but you know, as long as if your prefixes are done, that suffix can be made very simply anyway, if you're following me. The chest piece, I had one of these. This is what I was using for the longest time. Oh no, I sold it actually. That's from my Detonate Dead guy. Just basically I was using one of these, but everything was slightly lower tiers. So this chest piece cost me 110 divines, and I did the implicits myself. These implicits are painful to do. To try and get +3 of max res, it cost me like 15 div in conflicts. And blah blah blah. So yes, you can get lucky, you can get unlucky on doing your implicits, so be careful there. Obviously you could stick with +2, but everything matters. So the purity of lightning effect mixed with these aura effect nodes give us 87 to all res. You could also take less damage per int, whatever you fancy. So the chest piece is just as much evasion and intelligence and energy shield as you can get. Spell suppress, everything. You just want to stack your chest piece with as much crap as possible. This chest piece had some sacred orbs, so you can see it can roll from 427.93 to 491.107, and I used sacred orbs until it was decent. If we put a look at, say, 2400 with 500 ES and some spell suppress, that is 70 divines. If we look at some with intelligence as well, they'll be more expensive. Let's see if there's one with any intelligence. This has got int 150. Mine's got a little bit more. So it's maybe like 170. Could be 200, but I'm not sure on that. But yeah, I spent 110. Big purchase, biggest purchase of the league for me, minus the Mage Blood. The Mage Blood goes without saying. That boosts all our flasks, which is super important because we have reduced mana cost, our reses. We have the Ruby Flask for the damage reduction, we have the attack speed, and we use a Tincture in this build. Tincture is busted, man. So yes, mapping with an Explodey Flask is nice, but this, every time you hit with a projectile, it counts, so you pretty much have a 100% chance to gain rage when you attack, because there's so many projectiles coming back. And you just have perma rage, which means perma berserk, and the difference between playing this build with no rage and 50 rage is massive, so rage is really important. I previously used these tinctures, which was just rage, which is 2 div, and then I had a 19% one, which is 1. Last night I found one that had phasing for a divine. This apparently is 20 divines, but people don't really rate this mod, so it's kind of cheap to find them. So we are onto the Mage Blood. Yeah, that cost me 190 div. They're now 85 divines for a Mage Blood, which is just crazy. Like, if you've ever wanted to play with a Mage Blood, this is the league to play with a Mage Blood. They're literally so stupid cheap, it's ridiculous. So yeah, minus 100 div for me, but whatever. Shiny Mage Blood, who cares, right? So the last piece is the boots. Now, these were the boots I was using, which had ailment avoid, spell suppress, move speed, and avoid stun. Avoid stun is important because without it you will be getting stunned, so we have to solve the stun avoid, and we do that with the essence that stuns to avoid stun, and we have a jewel here which is giving 71 stun avoid, so we only need 30 stun avoid to be capped. So I used some essences. I bought a fugitive base, spammed essences of the stun until I hit tier 1 spell suppression. I then annulled, I did suffix can't be changed, and I did exalt, suffix can't be changed, exalt, scoured, yada yada yada, until I hit move speed. And then sorry, let me rephrase. I got the essence and I got the spell suppression. I then did suffix can't be changed, veiled chaos, and I hit strength and dex. Then I think I did suffix can't be changed, exalt, and if it didn't work I scoured, and I eventually waited until I got 30 move speed, and then I crafted on ES. So these boots are super nice. I don't think they're worth much in terms of technical value, if you want to call it that, because who cares about stun avoid? But if you want stun avoid, they're actually dead expensive. It's a pair up here for 150 div. But obviously you could solve the stun avoid problem with just one more jewel, so don't get too hung up on that. The game's about problem solving. Yes, technically you might go, wow, he's got 100 divine boots, or just put another stun avoid jewel in and then don't have stun avoid here, and all of a sudden you're looking at a pair of 30 move speed boots with spell suppression and 30 int, and they cost 1 div 120c. So it's about problem solving. Now the chest, yet we've dealt with that, and that's kind of like the rough gear. We've got the flasks again, and that's kind of how we're generating the energy shield. Now we do have a load of examples of how we're getting also bonus energy shield. This is coming from the Adorned, which is giving extra effect of corrupted magic jewels. So for example, this node up, this jewel up here, 16 int with 8 ES is giving us 38 int with 19 ES. If you are unsure of what percent jewel to buy, check out my video that is how to save money with this chart, and it explains how the Adorned works with some, it's like a 2-minute video, it helps. So I had Corrupting Blood here just because I was doing Simulacrums and some Cirrus and I didn't want to die. With this here you can see it gives 4 reservation, which helps the mana issue, 28 int, 19 ES, and all the way around we've basically got jewels that are giving ES, percent ES, or mana cost. Now you can see here this gives 11% reduced mana cost of effect. What this does is it takes my haste from being 48 mana to being 179 mana where I can't use it, and if I took off this cost of mana flask, that goes to 597 down to 48. So the Mage Blood combined with this percent max cost jewel gives us basically free haste, which is super clean. Also we have a Proj jewel. I made this myself. I made all the jewels myself, but it was expensive because a lot of them bricked. Here are some examples of bricked jewels. So I have jewels here that I make and then corrupt. We have like in ES, life proj, attributes in ES, reduce cost, energy shield, blah, like, you know what I mean? I just try and make a jewel and then val it and see what happens. You could go really fancy with implicits on jewels if you want to get super high end, like say this one, which had attack speed and ES. This also had 16 ES and 8 energy shield, and it bricked. That was a sad day. But the idea is just to see, just to kind of show you how much energy shield this gives you. We're at 16,700. If I take this out, 15.7. So the jewels are mega important on this build. The other jewels we use are melding. This gives us capped up to 87. If we take the melding out, you can see we have 90 lightning res, but only 75 to fire and cold. So this gives us 87 to all. We also have an ancestral vision, which is giving us, you can see, it's giving us about 32, well, it's giving us about 40 kind of avoidance. Now, if I was to level up to 100, I would go ahead and I would take these 2 spell suppression nodes. I would take one with nature. I also would go ahead and take, where is it? These 3 nodes, max armor, and a ES, and then I'd also take Fizz as Chaos. So what you'd do in an ideal world is you'd have Fizz taken as Chaos, Fizz taken as Chaos here, you'd have 17 Fizz taken as Chaos, and you're immune to Chaos, so boom, 17% of Fizz has just straight gone. And yeah, that's kind of how the build functions. We have a Thread of Hope. Only difference between like mine and Steel's obviously is like gearing. I have like the accuracy on my helmet and whatever. I put in a little cluster here that gives proj damage and ES with proj damage and attack speed, and then another dual, because it just seemed to work better for me than this node, which is damage if you've shocked and duration of lightning and effect of lightning. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes. You know, you might get a much bigger shock and you do more damage. This seemed a bit more consistent, so I just went with it. But with this one, you do get a tiny bit of energy shield, I guess, but it's hit or miss. So that's kind of how the build functions. I think this video's gone on quite long, so I'll probably put all the boss highlights in a second video, because that would probably make more sense than making you watch a 50-minute video. But I think I've explained everything there. If you're looking at links, Leap Slam, Faster Attacks, Arctic Armor, Frost Blink, Precision, Sniper's Mark on Hit, Berserk, Conductivity and Frost Shield, Purity of Lightning, Enlighten, Grace, Discipline, with a Val Discipline for, you know, when you panic. And then we have a Divine Blessing setup of Haste here. And then obviously we've got this. So kind of how it works as you play is you might put your shield down, you might manually curse a big enemy, you start casting, you'll focus, you'll haste, and the focus is really important because it's giving you like 50 attack speed, so that's super important. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, there's probably some minor tweaks that you might want to ask. I have a question for you if anyone's made it to the end of the video. Why does 8% increased damage for each aura give me energy shield? I don't understand why. I gain 44 energy shield by equipping this node that only gives me damage, and as far as I'm aware, damage doesn't equal energy shield. So I don't know why this one gives me energy shield. I genuinely am a bit confused on that one. So I don't know on that one, but that one seems to give me energy shield and damage, so I took it. But that's it. That's kind of the Trickster splitting steel. It is really tanky. Every Uber down, Deathless Simulacrum. Basically, you can't die apart from the memory game on Maven, pretty much. Which I hate. Worst mechanic in any video game ever. Can't see the thing. Just awful. But that is the build. It's probably most well-rounded character I've ever played, barring my Chaos Bone Shatter guy. It's up there. I think I still prefer the Chaos Bone Shatter guy, to be honest, but this is fun in its own way because it is so good at doing Uber bosses. So yeah, that's it. You can always import my character and have a look at stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I've missed out. I don't think there is. Obviously, get your gems as high as you can, good quality, all that good stuff, good chest piece. Oh, there's only one other thing. Obviously, you can make some adjustments if you really want. I mean, for example, I made this shield, right? This shield is fantastic, but I just have no way to use it. So I had max lightning res with spell suppress and crafted, and I spammed reforge defense and I got triple tier 2s. And then if you do prefix can't be changed and you reforge attack, it guarantees either, I think it's attack speed or accuracy, and it's pretty much, yeah, it gave me a big accuracy roll. Or you could prefix can't be changed, reforge speed, guarantee an attack speed roll, then lose the attack speed on the gloves, yada yada. There's some stuff you can do there, and this is nice because what this lets me do is I could drop this shield because I don't need that much energy shield. I would be well overcapped on spell suppress. I could remove both spell suppress rolls. I might even free up a passive, but I'm then struggling to cap my ailments, and I can't figure out a way to cap my ailments unless, now that I think about it, unless I upgrade my implicit on my boots, and that might actually fix it. And then, because we don't need the spell suppress on this shield or on this helmet or the accuracy, we could do prefix can't be changed, veil, and then we could get strength and intelligence on this and then slam. However, we are struggling with resistances strangely on this build because we weirdly don't really get any resists on the gear. So we'd have too much lightning res. So if I was to reforge and lose this lightning res, I wouldn't be able to swap it to cold to cap me. So there is some thoughts. There are some ways to rejig this. It's not set in stone. Just some ideas for you guys. But yeah, it's been very enjoyable. And that's kind of the build, I would say. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do another build for the rest of this league. Probably just going to do some Delirium and Simulacrums, maybe some Ubers when I fancy it. But I think that's kind of me done. I feel like I've really enjoyed the league. I've got the mirror drop finally after all these years. I've made the really GG character. I've killed all the Ubers deathless. I finally got Cirrus down deathless. It's been really positive, and I thought I'd share it. So yeah.